welcome to oh no, look, see, I'm gonna have to edit that already. Could have a script.
No, keep the
So
same.
we'll keep it all in.
Same.
Right, because this is the Collaborators Round Table discussion, where we talk with the contributing artists and people that helped out making the episode that hopefully people listening to this have already heard. Yeah, so I'm Sam Humphreys, the kind of creator of the podcast, like ideas person behind the thing. I'm joined tonight so far with Kenneth and Cassie. So we'll get them to introduce themselves and have a little blurb around who they are and what they've done on the episode this time. And we're going to start with Cassie. How are you going?
My brain is all over the place tonight. I can't promise that I make any sense, but that's all right. I am showing up as I am, and that's nice and authentic. We like that. So I'm Cassie. I'm Sam's big sister, actually, which is pretty cool. I like being his big sister, thankfully. I've been writing for a long time, and when he first had this idea, he asked if they could use the dead way, and I said, of course, because he's my baby brother. He can have anything. So yeah, I love writing, and I love being part of collaborative processes, and it's been cool to tag along.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it has been, and it's been great to have your support, of course, as well. I don't want to get into like nepotism so much as just advantage of knowing people. But yeah, it's been excellent, and I mean, it was in discussions with you that kind of prompted this idea's creation. To be fair. Yeah. When you asked, what was it? You said,
what makes you so happy, or something like that.
Yeah, and something to do with challenging the establishment.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about decolonization and taking things out of big presses and big organizations, and collaboration and creation and different ways to do that.
Yeah. Precisely, which is hopefully what we're going to be encouraging and providing a platform here on Emerging Aotearoa, as well as improving my ability to speak clearly. So thank you, Cassie, for that introduction. We'll come back to more stuff about the dead way after we have a quick introduction from Kenneth. How are you going, Kenneth?
Yes. Hi. I'm Kenneth. I do words and stuff. Yeah.
You've not long woken up, I think, isn't it?
Awkward.
Just you're still.
Yeah,
you haven't had have you had a coffee yet, or you're still waiting on that?
I didn't drink coffee. Yeah, I know.
Shocking.
And you call yourself a writer.
I only recently got into hot drinks. I didn't like hot drinks for like most of my life, and now I drink tea.
As a side note, it's surprising the amount of creators I've known that don't drink hot drinks or didn't until way later in their life. As an interesting thing to note, that's like has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, I didn't start drinking coffee till I was like 25, I think.
Yeah, I'm rather terrified of starting to drink coffee, because I feel like I'm the type of person that will become addicted to it. So I'm just steering clear.
It's pretty good.
For as long as I can.
I can't drink tea, on the other hand, and Seb's one of the reasons why I can't drink tea.
We don't need to get into that story on this podcast episode.
I might have to write a story about that, and then we could put that on the podcast.
Maybe for a Halloween episode. but Kenneth, you provided what would we say contributed the poem. I have to make sure to say that is 2 syllables. The poem for our very first episode, and it was a big. I was quite honoured that you let us use that, actually, because when I first heard it on the Outspoken Poetry's open mic night, I was pretty moved by that, man. It was really nice.
Thank you. I was a little. I was both Ravi and I. Ravi being the other leader of the Outspoken. We were both rather shocked that to have you all reach out. That was we did not expect that anyone to like reach out, and it was cool for me that um, that you guys actually enjoyed it and were impacted by it. That's uh, as a poet, that's always what you want. Is if you can just impact one person, then you're like, yes, I succeeded. Um,
Yeah.
and then to have that offer of like, oh, we want to like use the poem. I was like, oh yeah, sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Go for it. Take it.
No, it was so nice, and I'm definitely going to have to get Ravi on here as well. I was hoping he might be able to make it tonight, but I have not heard to talk a bit more about the Outspoken collective, because that's a really interesting thing. When I found you guys on Facebook, as I was desperately trying to find poets, and having very limited contacts with people or people that want to put stuff out into the world. um,
Mm.
and I found you guys and watched the open mic night, and I was like, whoa, like this is great, and it's all from like here. It's like representing our country and like the diverse voices that we find here. And I thought too, like your poem reflected a lot for me at least of the ideas behind the podcast of kind of tapping into that creative side again and realizing that like you can become unpracticed with the everyday that goes on in life. It's real easy to get kind of like bogged down into the everyday and forget those parts of ourselves that we used to find passion in, and
Mm.
and like the kind of rediscovery of that like spark of inspiration. Oh yeah,
Mm.
something get around that, man. It really got me. It was great, and it seemed really fitting for the very beginning of the podcast. We're really looking for,
I mean, that is kind of the place I was in when I wrote it. Um, in terms of, I mean, before I moved over, so I moved over here in like 2017. Before I moved over, I had spent 5 or 6 years working in theatre, so as a playwright, and also mentoring other writers
and was this
in
in
both New Zealand
sorry to interrupt, was this in New Zealand you were doing that? So you've moved over to
and
Germany at the moment, eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was in New Zealand and Australia, mainly in Melbourne.
Cool.
Um, and so like that was my work. It was writing and being creative every day. Um, but then I came over here and um, just I started working as an English teacher, um, and then just doing sort of just factory work and stuff
Y-
over
Yeah.
here. And so not much creative. So then like for 3 years I it was just a whole new different work style. And then only last year and this year have I been getting back into creative things. And so, but with the Outspoken Collective, I was still running it, co-leading it, and running workshops and teaching others how to write. But I was, in a way, I was kind of like, it feels weird teaching when I myself I'm not like as in depth in that world
Mm.
as I once was.
Yeah.
And so I always felt a little like I know these techniques because I made them and like I've taught them like thousands of times, but um, like my writing quality is not where it once was, and so it always felt weird to me to like be seen as the expert in the room
Yeah.
when I was like I don't feel like an expert anymore. Like I don't like the level that my writing is at, and and the so the open mic night that you saw was on Saturday. The Thursday was when I wrote that poem.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Um, So the Thursday is where we have our workshops, and it was the last workshop, and it was the first time I had heard everyone's poems,
Yeah.
and I was giving them like feedback and notes and how they can like improve performance and things like that. And while they were performing, I had this sort of like, I feel like a fraud.
Mm.
I feel like so I wrote it while they were performing in our little Zoom chat.
That's really cool.
And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it's like, I'm supposed to be teaching you all, but I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I have that level anymore. Yeah.
It brings up the those feelings of imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That I'm sure many of us creative types of people feel often, and probably people in all sorts of situations. It must be a very human thing, this imposter syndrome. Do you think? I think it brings up an interesting question, just for me and for you guys as creatives that put work out there in the world, or work in industries around it. Do you think that feeling that like we get, how much do you think that holds people back from like interacting with or going further with their art, despite their like passion for that? Because I mean, I'm sure it's held me back on many times.
No, I think I'm not sure that I haven't reached the point. I've been doing this for a long time now, and I haven't reached the point where imposter syndrome doesn't still kick my ass from time to time. And it's funny because I think it's a huge thing that holds a lot of people back, that fear of putting yourself out into the world. As long if you're writing for yourself and you're not sharing it with anyone, it can just be everything you want it to be, and no one else is commenting on it, so it's kind of safe and it's fun and it's there's less pressure. But as soon as you start putting things out into the world, that changes. And I think people, even before they've done that, have an awareness that it will change, and that's definitely, I think, a thing that holds people back from doing it.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. There's that transition from writing for me versus writing for an audience is one of the most terrifying changes to make mentally. Because yeah, I've been writing for myself for forever, but then that making that first change, making that first script when I was like 17 or 18. And like at first you'll let you write the first drafts. My first drafts are usually just what makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And then but like when I read through it with the critiques brain of like, would this make other people laugh? And then would this as I start questioning myself of whether people would enjoy it, what people would take away from it, and things like that. And then I can get so stuck up and caught up in my head and my own thoughts that I just paralyze myself. And then I'm like, oh, well, just isn't good. Maybe I should just start again. And then if that cycle just continues, you never release anything.
Yep. I, I know that one. Yeah, I haven't put a lot of stuff out into the world myself, I don't think. Especially not since I was much younger. But
I always think the older you get, the harder it gets, because you have more awareness of things.
Yeah.
I miss having written my first book, which you read, Sam, and submitting it to agents like I was the shit, man. I was, they were definitely going to snap it up and I was awesome.
yeah.
I miss that feeling. And the more I do, the less certain I am about what I do. Which makes it really hard. And I think you never get over the fear of like when you publish something cool, something goes out and other people read it, you're like, oh, well, I don't know. Can't speak for other people, but I just sit there like waiting for someone to say something horrible.
Yeah.
And until that happens, I almost can't relax. It's like, come on, I know someone's going to say something nasty, and I'm just waiting for it to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, because I've had generally quite good feedback about things, when I get a review that's not shiny or something, they mention something is off or they didn't like, I'm like, yes, okay, I can relax now because someone said something bad and I didn't die and the world didn't end. I'm still here. Yeah.
I feel so seen.
Yeah. Oh no, that's excellent. Oh, that's great. What a fantastic tangent to go down.
Yeah.
It is good because it is these common things. And I think even the people, like I think back on all of the things that I've thought of doing and I've never gone followed through with, or have like started and then given up on because I've gone like, I'm not going to get that good enough, you know. Um, even things that you might get compliments from your friends, it's real easy to go like, yeah, but they kind of got to say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is probably the podcast is probably the first thing I'll follow through with for a long time. So that's nice. But
I'm proud of you.
oh, thanks, Cassie. I still, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's been a really fun experience so far. So one thing I've got some questions for you guys around that actually.
Okay.
Because we're in the early days
And,
and maybe hardly anyone's listening, so I can get your guys' advice.
Oh, okay.
Well, or feedback actually about how you found the process of working with us in the getting like your probably like Kenneth, we kind of like got stuff together in a bit of a rush at the last minute because I only found you guys really late. But there's still, I'd like to know about how you found the communication, both of you, and working with us in getting this episode out.
Ooh, okay. You go first. Yep.
Yep, I'll go first. Okay. I, I I enjoyed it. It was I'm a bit weird in that well, maybe I'm not weird. I feel like a lot of creative people are also like this. I enjoy pressure. Um, like just being like, it's the first episode, we're releasing it like really soon, and like we need to have everything all together. Like sweet, this is way better than like it's in 3 months because I will forget about it. It's
Yep.
so I was just like, great, like, and it was also good because like I think you had a good balance of enough reminders without being spam.
Cool. I was worried
And
about that because it's one of the things I'm like,
yeah,
I want to keep on board with people, but respect everyone's autonomy to do things in their own time. And balancing
but it
balancing
was
that's yeah.
yeah, it was a very good balance for me because it was like it was just enough reminders to like get me because I can spam Ravi because he spams me all the time. I consistently every day I wake up to like 9 new messages.
Nice.
And so uh like he spams me more than I spam him, but when I do message him he responds immediately, so I'm like sweet. So with like the video I was like I'd need to message him once and then he would message me 9 times about his progress. And so yeah, it was, oh man, I feel sorry for when Ravi watches this. It's just going to be me throwing him under the bus. Eh,
Say something nice, quick.
he has great glasses. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, it was. I found the process really smooth, and yeah, like I said, it was a good balance in terms of like communication, and I also need a kick up the butt every now and then
Nice.
to like actually get stuff done. So yeah, it was good.
Cool. Thank you.
And yeah, it was a good balance. And for your first, yeah, as well, I was like, I've I remember working with like um, quote unquote professional institutions. I won't name anyone.
Good plan. Play it safe.
Yeah, that their communication was like they've been around for like years, and their communication was horrible. I had no clue what was going on, but I felt really informed every step along the way. So yeah,
Oh, awesome.
well done.
Cool. Thank you very much, Kenneth. That's great feedback. And how about you, Cassie? We were working on yours for freaking ages. So I'm not.
Ages, yeah, but it was the first one. It was the first one, and that was really cool. There was, like as Kenneth said, communication was good. Reminders were good. I love reminders. I love a good deadline that someone else sets, not one that I set. That's less effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so coming at it from the story writer's perspective, I think, and I'm gonna cue this not just for you, but for other people who are thinking about submitting something. I've found it really good to come with an open mind, like no certain expectations or like not having imagined how it will turn out, just trusting in the process. And it was really enjoyable to see you working on it, because you were obviously having fun at some points and frustrated at other points, and there were some neat bloopers that came out, and it was really fun to be engaged in that and to get the behind the scenes kind
Wait,
of it wasn't just.
I'll interrupt you for
What was
just
that?
1 second because, okay, I'll have to, maybe at the end of this, when I've edited this episode, I'll chuck the blooper in. But trying to get, because Jules can't make it tonight to talk for herself, so I have to tell the story. Trying to record the line at 11 o'clock at night, come on, Daddy's home, was next to impossible.
Yeah, it was.
It took,
It was. But I tell you what, like, it took. How long did it take?
oh,
Sorry.
it took like maybe 15 minutes or more, just because I couldn't stop laughing. I just got the giggles real terrible, because the first time I wish I think I've got a recording. If I do, I'll stick it on the end, because it's just spot on for not being the right way to say it for the story. It's like, wait,
no.
wrong genre there, Jules. Wrong genre.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I love it a bit. I think she did like an amazing job of voicing Negan.
She did. She did. It's so funny. I keep forgetting that character's name for some reason. I'm like, she was a character, and I don't remember her name for some reason. But what I was going to say is it was really neat to. It wasn't just that I sent you a story and then I heard the finished product. It was that I sent you a story and then I was still engaged in the process of the creation while it was happening, and that was really neat, because I think a lot of the time people don't get that. They don't get to listen to it before it comes out, or like check in with how they're feeling about how the reading's gone, or all that kind of stuff. So it was really neat from my perspective. And I think, yeah, what I would say to other people considering submitting something is that it's fun, and to come with an open mind and come in the spirit of collaboration, and just, yeah, trust that people want to do their best with your story, because that's my experience of
Oh
it.
man, thank you. That's so nice. And I mean, it's precisely what we're looking to try to achieve, is to always said it in our whole tagline thing, like keeping it as close to like the artist's vision as possible as well, so that we want to keep that interaction going with the people that submit their work, so that we can make sure that they're happy with it. Like, it's not just like, here, do whatever you want, or like, we'll take that story and do whatever we want with it. It's like, no, we've got these ideas. Like some of them, the first episode was a bit of an interesting risk, adapting a first-person story to have a narrator with a different voice than the voice actors for the same character. So that would be interesting to hear how you both found that sounding as well.
I mean, I liked how it sounded, but I mean, really, it's typical Sam to just go, really freaking ambitious out the gate. Let's just do multiple voices and all that stuff. Yeah, it was really impressive how you managed to pull that together with no kind of experience of doing that stuff before.
I'd say, as like production value goes, we blew the budget on hours spent on that episode. but it was so much learning involved, and YouTubing and reading, and still, I bet you in another week I'll go back and listen to it and go like, I could have done that a lot better.
But I think that's the other thing about creativity and this kind of thing is you can always do things better, but you're doing things the best you can at the time. And I say that to lots of writers, like, whatever you're doing now, you just do the best you can. The best you can do in 6 months' time is going to be totally different. And that's okay. I actually quite like the experience of going back and looking at earlier things I wrote and seeing how far I've come. So this is like a time thing for you too. You can come back to this episode at any point in time, in 6 months' time or whatever, and you can go, oh, holy shit, we've really leveled up over that time. That's really neat.
Yeah,
being able to witness like creative progression is so fascinating. Yeah, and it's also like because most creatives are their biggest critics, and it's always good to be able to find points where like you're satisfied with your work. And one of the ways that I do that is actually look back and be like, look at what I'm writing now versus what I've published before, and then being like, oh my god, there is such a I'm so glad I've improved.
Yeah. There's a bit of cringe involved.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think it's a good kind of cringe, cringe. It's like, oh.
There's a lot of like the thing that I cringe the most at is because I'm not just a writer, I dance as well. And so
cool.
And seeing videos of like 15-year-old me dancing is yeah, it's horrible.
But you were awesome when you were 15. Like you were 15-year-old awesome. That's the thing, and now you're older awesome. So I think it's good to be able to look back and recognize the growth and the change. I like it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've kind of lost track. We've gone on so many tangents now, and I had no plan, so it's kind of what it's supposed to do. So were there any other questions? Yes. So we heard a bit from you, Kenneth, about I'm not good with words and where that came from and where that was written from. Cassie, would you want to tell us a little bit about Behind the Dead Way? So this one had been published in Baby Teeth, was that it?
Baby Teeth,
yeah. So
yeah, it was originally published in Baby Teeth, which was an anthology that a group of authors made. A couple of authors wanted to edit it, and we all submitted stories. And it was kind of based on creepy things that kids say. And my eldest was like 6 or something at the time, and we lived near a dead end that we drove past all the time. And she literally asked me what was down a dead way, and I was like, holy shit, what is down a dead way? Like that's, and it took me years to write that story because I just never quite knew what was down a dead way. And then this call for Baby Teeth came out, and I wrote the story, and no lies, like the edits on that were absolutely minimal. It was just one of those stories that just came out like complete. There was the biggest change in it was that she was drinking wine when she was pregnant, and I totally blanked on that. Oh. Yeah, it was really funny. I didn't even notice that I did that. So yeah, then the editors were like, we just need to change this to like hot chocolate or something.
Wait, did we have the version of it that she still has a glass of wine? Did we put that in the recording? I reckon.
I don't think you do. Okay. You reckon I sent you the wrong version? See, that's the other thing with the story is it went missing. I didn't have any. I had to go through so many emails to try and find a copy of it, even though it should have been saved in my files. It's a sneaky story. So that was first published in Baby Teeth, and I proudly am the only person I know with my baby teeth on the cover of a book.
Your actual baby teeth.
My actual baby teeth, which I had made into a necklace by the wonderful jeweler Dale Copeland, or artist she is. When I was in my teens, and it's on the cover of the book, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it reappeared last year in Black Dogs, Black Tails, with a slight tweak to make sure everyone knew the dog was safe because he wasn't in the first version, which is, I think, the one you've
yes,
got.
later, after we were all home, I lay on the couch against Nathan's chest, a glass of wine in my hand.
Oh, that's the original.
Yeah, but
Before I,
yeah. So, no, and the dog is definitely not okay.
No. In Black Dogs, Black Tails, the dog is okay because the tagline for that was that where the dogs never die. So all of something like that. Like the dogs had to, because you know how so often in stories the dogs die. So it was okay if anyone else could die in Black Dogs, Black Tails, but the dogs couldn't die. So yeah, slight tweak there, but no, it's one of my favorite stories still. Yeah, it's just one of those. Every now and then you get a thing that is just like, oh yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed working on it, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I think we got. I did have a message. I can't remember who it was. Somebody had listened to it and said that it'd be nice to know that it was a horror first, though, because they were a bit scared. And I was like, I'm pretty sure.
You did give a good content warning.
I thought I did.
You
put
did.
a good content warning at the start.
You
But then
did.
I remember that I
Yes.
didn't actually have it written up in the show notes because this is what happened with the first episode. So I'm going to go on another tangent. Sorry, guys.
So good.
So it was all set to go on the Monday, just like the advertising had done, which was my first mistake because I made a promo trailer that said 6 more days. And of course, every day after I put it out, it's wrong. You know, so lesson learned. Okay, put a date, not the amount of days. That way, it's true forever. But I had that all set, and I was like, right, well, I'm going to put this podcast up. Like, we had to shoot up to out to the other side of the country to help a father-in-law who'd like an old person who'd been in a car crash for a while. So I was like, right, I just have to post this episode first. Got to get it done because I'm not going to have access to any of the files from up there. And just before I'd went to leave the pod hosting like free trial with the unlimited kind of thing. Anyway, long story short, I couldn't do any actual scheduled posts. I had to like either post it right then or leave it till I got back. So that's how we got the episode out a day early. So a few lessons learned. So now even the very first day, if you'd listened to it, it still would have been wrong, the promo. Yeah.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah. So now though, I think from now on we should be pretty good. Hopefully. Yeah. And you've had a chance to listen to the whole do you both have a chance to listen to the whole podcast episode?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep, cool. So we can have your not opposing, it's just sounding horrible. I don't mean to set you up against each other. But I'd like to hear what you each thought of each other's work. Yeah. Like from other creatives. Like not like in a critique way, but what kinds of things it brought up for you, as in like how did that work move you on a personal level, if it did?
I just remember the deadweight being haunting. That was like it was one of I normally don't like scary things just because I'm a wuss. But it was one of those things where like a part of me wanted to turn it off and a part of me wanted to keep listening.
Nice.
That's the best kind. That's the best kind of feedback. It's exactly what I love. I often hear people read my horror and go, I don't like horror, but I couldn't stop reading that. I'm like, yes, I win.
Yeah. It was like I remember like getting through it all and then just being like, okay, let's just play some happy music, get into a positive mind space.
So speaking of the happy music, the onesie song afterwards, it's pretty upbeat.
Yeah,
I think that's a good way to.
It is very upbeat.
It was a good
It was great.
It was a good ending.
I was waiting for it because I
wasn't
sure when it was. I was like, oh, sorry. I was waiting for it to come up because I hadn't listened to it before, and I was waiting. I'm like, he's doing all the rounding off, and I'm like, oh no, hang on, there's still time left. And it was a nice, nice way to round it out. It was great.
Yeah, definitely got me out of the the slightly horror phase that I was in. Just like, it's like, okay,
Sorry, I apologize to everyone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it was good. It was so good. That's why. That's like, if it wasn't a good horror story, it wouldn't have affected me. Because, well, with me, I'm usually either laughing at it or I'm super scared. And so the fact that I wasn't laughing at it that means it's good. Because
Wonderful.
Yeah, and this is why I like to write horror. I still remember my dad when he read the story. He was sitting in my kitchen reading it from my copy of the anthology it was in, and what did he say? It was something like, "Well, that was awful, but I couldn't stop reading." Like the kind of like, I really like that was really, I didn't like that, but I couldn't stop reading it. I'm like, yes, that's great. Or that was disgusting or something. I don't know. It was hilarious. I loved it. It was a great comment.
Perfect feedback.
I can understand that.
And I really, really enjoyed your poem too, Kenneth. As Sam said, it was you could really tell where you were in your creative space. And I think I think even when you are writing on the regular, you can still hit those patches where you just feel like nothing's coming right, or you're a fraud, or just I think it's a really common kind of, like, it's a feeling that most people who are creative can really relate to. I enjoyed your reading of it too. It was nice, nice to have the poet read the poem, I think.
I think that was the second time. That was the second time I had ever read it. So
Well done.
Yeah, it was why I wanted to use, and I mean, I guess because I'm making the podcast, doing the production part of it, I guess I get to go like, hey, I want this preference because it's mine, and we're only starting out, and I don't have lots of people to tell me what to do yet. But like, one of the things I loved about taking that from the Outspoken's open mic night was there was a authenticity and a rawness to it that, like, I mean, I won't lie, I shed a few tears listening to that, and I've been told I have been told that, like, oh, who was it? Somebody else was telling me, like, because they'd listened to it before, like, they were involved with the podcast. Who was it? Maybe it was even Jules. Like, when she was listening to the episode, she was like, I can't listen to the poem right now. I'll try, it'll be too much. I have to skip through that part this time. Because I found it really moving. And it brought up a lot of those kind of self-reflecting thoughts of, like, the times where I don't know, I love a piece of art that allows me to tap into some of my own emotions that I sometimes don't have the greatest access to. And that really did it for me.
Resonates.
And I also love things that bring up questions for me. Or like, so here's a question for you, Cassie. Because one of the things that the Dead Way brought up for me, aside from the horror and the psychological, like, terror of the things and the ending, like, that's just, like, rough. But one of the things that it brought up for me was, like, how often do we as grown-ups, and not just as grown-ups, but take that as a symbol for anybody who's, like, confident in their experience of life and their opinions, write off the things that people, like, the ideas that other people say, because we have that confidence of experience backing us, like Sadie's, like, you can't go out there, they want you to. The mother's like, of course, this is bullshit, it's some kids bloody being silly, so I'm gonna go out there and get my gosh darn dog.
Because it's what you do. Like, it's totally what I would do, is I would go and get my dog, because when I was writing that story, my dog Carly was kind of like and she was my pack,
Yeah.
and I love her. And so when I was writing that dog, it was he was pack too. So it was kind of like, well, I have to go and get my dog. But we do so often ignore or brush off things that people say when we assume that they don't have the knowledge or the age or the wisdom or the insight that we do.
Like Nathan in the story, she's only 6 and shrugging his shoulders.
Yeah.
Just we can write off this opinion as nothing and nothing serious about it. And I like that, I guess. I thought that was interesting. And if that was one, I was wondering if that was on purpose or if that is just symbolism that I'm reading into a book because of whatever's going on in my subconscious.
No, it's definitely on purpose, and I think part of that is coming from being a mother myself. Is that the number of times my kids have said something to me, and I've been like, oh, like I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but like dumb rules that we were like, oh, you have to do this, and they're kind of like, but why? And you're like, actually, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure why I am holding on to this belief that someone else put on me when I was a kid. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in places you might not think to find it. You just have to be open to it. So it was definitely intentional that that Sadie had that wisdom and it was ignored.
Cool. Yeah, because I love that. It's a good reminder sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, this has been nearly an hour of chatting, and it's an opportunity for you guys to ask me any questions as well, if there's anything you wanted to know about the podcast or how things work that you might not be clear on or anything like that. So, fire away if there's any.
What would you do differently?
Oh.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Let's just start with an easy one, eh? What would I do differently on like this episode? You mean like specifically? Not actually a whole lot. I ended up being like well pleased with how it came out. Probably take some elocution lessons and learn how to speak a bit clearer so that I'm wondering how easy anyone can actually understand me because I have a habit to run words into each other.
I think part of that's a Kiwi thing.
Oh yeah.
And also I can't tell you because I grew up with you, so I understand.
It's definitely a Kiwi thing. Working like internationally, I've had to learn how to speak a little more clearly. But when I'm stuck when like my Kiwi accent comes out, no one besides other Kiwis can understand me.
Yeah. So I might have to like work on that accent of mine a little bit too.
A lot of it is just slowing things down, and it's really hard, especially when you get excited about something. Not just you, but like anyone. Yeah. The more excited we get, the faster we tend to talk.
For sure.
One thing I find super, super funny is when Americans are speaking and they're like apologizing for speaking fast, and I'm like, have you met you clearly haven't met anyone from New Zealand.
Yeah, it can be. That was one of the things we did change. I had recorded the host audio and then re-recorded the entire lot because I just was way too fast the first time. So
is there no thing to just like slow it down on the recording app or whatever?
You can, but it sounds real weird. Yeah, it's already weird enough hearing myself. That's already uncomfortable enough, but hearing myself slowed down sounds very bizarre. I can't get it to keep the quality really well, only if I slow it down just a tiny bit, but it's not enough to create pause between words.
Something to
work on, yeah. But we'll mostly I won't be talking that much, hopefully. Oh, that's right, I've got to narrate stories. Yeah.
Whose idea was this podcast anyway?
Whose idea was this podcast anyway? It's all your fault. Hopefully some people enjoy it, and we do get to create a platform for more creatives to share their work in the world.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, from this first season, we'll get more people submitting some stuff for the second season. I've already got one potential story lined up, which is looking quite nice. So
fantastic.
Yeah, and I'd like the theme of perspectives. It'd be really nice to get quite a diverse range of poems and stories and music to view things from perspectives that aren't as commonly seen. I think it would be nice to get some of that work out there.
Super important to do that.
Yeah. So bring out your first-person serial killer stories. That was. I mean, you can if you want. That is a different perspective, and we might run it. But yeah, it'll be really interesting. So we've got this year's finished. We're filled up. We've got all of the stories for that, and we've got all of the music sorted for that now. And we just need 2 more poems, which I'm hoping that Kenneth and Ravi can help us out with being in contact with more poets.
Yeah, I know Ravi is getting one of them sorted.
Oh yes, he's got. I've seen the yes, he's got one. He's going to be sending in for the next episode coming out. Well, next week, because it's already that fast through.
Yep, this year's just going to disappear.
Yeah. So we'll be finishing up the season around about New Year's, I think. Yeah, and then we'll be starting in February recording for season 2. Be pretty nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. My creative brain is just like, there's so many things I want to try.
And there's
yes, try them all. Try them all.
Because the more that's one of the things we really want to try is to getting the more mediums together in this collaboration as we can. Like, hey, if somebody's a animator and wants to do like a video for one of the episodes, cool, that'd be amazing. Photographers, anything, soundscape designers, like there's space for any kind of creative to kind of give stuff a go.
Fan art, I've never had any fan art done, so just putting that out.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean, like paintings and drawings and like having. I'd love to be able to feature different artists' cover art, based around the same themes. I guess because I haven't written a lot of this stuff down in like a website or anything, because I tend to do everything strangely. I find it really difficult. I can talk in a somewhat coherent manner mostly, but getting my ideas down on paper is quite a struggle. I can keep them mostly on track in my mind. But writing them down so they make sense to other people can be really difficult.
I'm the opposite. It's another thing of like the whole I'm not good with words. I'm terrible at speaking, but I can write really fluently, but then like speaking with people, I'm like, hello, words.
Yeah. Sam and Mum and Dad all got the very good speaking, and I didn't. But that's okay because I can write.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. I mean, the speaking can be people often mistake my speaking for thinking that I'm confident about the things I'm talking about, which is not very often the case.
50% bullshit. That's what you are.
Yeah,
I mean that.
Yes, yeah.
I mean it in the most loving way,
but possible.
Yeah, definitely. No, you can speak confidently about anything you feel like, whether it turns out to be that next week you change your opinion on it or not, because at least you're open to changing your opinion on all things.
All depends on the information. There's like David Hume, who's a wise man, proportions his belief to the evidence. Which means you've got to have reader change when you're ready to write this.
You do.
I just occasionally forget that I'm speaking confidently about a thing that I am like possibly thinking this could be a thing that might be true or not. Maybe. I have to wait.
Yeah, it always sounds like you know that this is the way. When I know that because I know you're actually working through the problem as you talk about it.
Yes.
It's an explorative conversation. You just sound so confident. People think that
I should have
it's your firm belief.
Need like a caveat sticker on my forehead. It's like, wait till the end when he's actually figured out what he's talking about, and don't believe most of it.
I love it.
Yeah, maybe we can make those hats for the gift shop. Well, I'm gonna. Are there any other look at me? Go. I can't speak words anymore. Are there any other?
It's time to close it off. Then.
Yeah, I think it's time to call it for the day. Are there any closing comments either of you have before we say goodbye?
I just want to say thank you for asking me to be involved. It was super cool, and I've got another story in another episode later on this season, which should be super fun too.
Episode 3. I listened to that again and decided that I have to re-record it.
Sorry.
It's okay. We'll get it done. I've got it all sorted now. It was one of those things where I'd actually recorded that story before we did this version of The Dead Way. So I've learnt a whole lot since then about a whole bunch of stuff. So I listened to it as I was getting it prepped today, and I went, I have to do that again.
I look forward to listening to the next version.
Yeah, I'll get you to sign off on it once it's finished next week.
Excellent.
I want to hear the story.
Well, fortunately, you get to as a collaborator. Look, I guess maybe people will listen to this, but because you're a collaborator and you're in the Discord, that is where we get people to do the prior listening to check it out, and we like to have our collaborators' feedback on other episodes that they may not be contributing in, just so that we can produce the best content that we possibly can.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll be able to see, we'll have links up for that stuff in the coming weeks.